All right. Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on which part of the world you're joining us from. Coach Kevin Sparks here, and let's go ahead and get started. First thing I want to go ahead and do is share my screen with you and point out some things that will be helpful, particularly if you're here with us for your very first time today. Want to point out that we have a meetup group that coincides with, or excuse me, a Facebook group that coincides with our meetup group. It has the same name, Live Law of Attraction, Money, Wealth, and Success Training. The way to find us is to go into your Facebook account. Wherever it says search Facebook for you, start typing that in and you'll be able to find us. And when you find us, go ahead and come ask to join us. If you want to go there in a more direct route, you can go to the very top of your browser and type in facebook.com/groups/money manifesting coach is one word. Highlight it here. That's facebook.com/groups, plural, /money manifesting coach as one word. Okay, so why would you even want to join us in the first place? Well, as long as I remember to hit the record button, when we have these Zoom meetings, I go ahead and get them recorded for you so that within 24 to 48 hours of attending a meeting, you can go back and review whatever it is that you liked in case there's something you want to go over again. The other reason that you might want to do it is because maybe you're here with us Monday and Tuesday. For some reason, you can't make it Wednesday. You're here with us Thursday and Friday. Well, you can always go back to Wednesday once the recording is put up and go through it and get caught up with where we're at. And real quick, I'm to make this a little more simple for you. I'm going to go into chat for just a moment here. And let's see if I can get, there is the link to the Facebook group. Just make sure you click on it before we sign out today because it won't be there in a recording, okay? But if you click on that right now, you can go ahead and join us in the Facebook group very easily that way. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to share with you is what we're in the process of doing right now at the moment. We're currently in the process of going through a book called Hidden Treasures, okay? Hidden Treasures is the book we're going through. Why are we choosing this book? A couple reasons. One, I know the author, okay? The author is a good friend of mine. That's not the main reason we're going through it, but it is a personal friend. But because this particular book does an extremely good job of actually sharing with us the different laws that govern us manifesting what we want in our lives. Now you may be saying, well, isn't that what the law of attraction is? The law of attraction is actually a secondary law or subsidiary law to a law called the law of vibration. There are actually 7 different laws and kind of an 8th one that govern us manifesting what we want in our life. And I bet you weren't even aware of that fact. Some of you were, okay? But a lot of people aren't aware of that fact. There are actually multiple laws. Let's call it like 7.5, 8 laws, okay? That if we are following these laws correctly and doing what we're supposed to do, we end up manifesting what we want. If we're disobeying these laws on purpose or by accident, meaning we don't even know they exist, then it would be very easy to disobey it by accident, the same way a baby could disobey the law of gravity. Here's what I mean by that. A baby could go crawling across the floor, climb up onto a chair, climb up onto, let's say, the counter in your kitchen, if you have like one of those big islands, and go crawling across the counter and not stop when it gets to the other side. And what is going to happen to the baby? Well, the law of gravity is going to go into effect, and that baby is going to fall off the other side of the counter. Now, how much damage that baby has and deals with, how much pain and suffering, will depend upon probably what the floor was it landed on and on what part of their body they landed and whatnot. So that baby didn't understand the law of gravity. The baby had no idea that it was going to hurt itself when it did what it did, or it would not have done so. Well, guess what? Most of us are hurting ourselves when it comes to wanting things that we want and not having them show up in our life because we're disobedient to particular laws. However, when we obey them, here's the cool thing, it will come to you easily and more automatically. Now, there's one other player in you getting what you want, which is your subconscious mind. And if it is programmed to help you or if it's programmed to go against what it is that you're trying to receive. We're not going to talk as much about that today, though, but we're doing Hidden Treasures as a book because, again, Leslie Householder has done a phenomenally good job explaining these laws. And we both, Leslie and I, were personally trained as coaches by a gentleman by the name of Bob Proctor. If you don't know who Bob Proctor is, maybe you've heard of his book, You Were Born Rich, or maybe you've seen him highlighted in both the movie and or the book, The Secret. But Bob Proctor was Leslie's trainer and coach, and he's also been my trainer and coach. And Leslie is a law of attraction coach at this day and age, and so am I. All right, so I wanted to show you how to get a copy of this book for free so that you can follow along with us. If you just go to hiddentreasuresbook.com, scroll down a little ways, there it says click here for your free download. So that's where you can get a copy of it, okay? And then once you download it, it'll look like, well, it'll be fancier on the first page, but it will look like this. I blew my screen up a bit, so it'll be a little smaller. And we're on page 25 of 215 pages in this particular PDF document. We've kind of had some introduction to the laws, had them explained just very briefly, but explaining why it's important that we understand how the laws of the universe function, especially when we want to manifest more money and wealth into our lives, as well as other good things that we want in our lives. So we're jumping into the first, essentially a lesson here. The law of perpetual transmutation is lesson 1 and the number 1 law. Not saying it's the most important, but it's the first one that we're going to be going over. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to do some reading. I'll add some commentary where I feel it is helpful and appropriate. And then what we always like to do is leave about 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes I'll hang out a little bit longer than that at the end of what we're doing to interact with each other. Definitely would like to get your participation for you to share things that you would like to share and ask questions that you would like to ask so that you can learn and move forward and accomplish what you want. We want to be here to help support you in doing that, okay? So I'm going to get a sip of water and then we're just going to get rolling with this. Lesson 1, Law of Perpetual Transmutation. The Law of Perpetual Transmutation, let's see, scooch this just a hair. Here we go. The Law of Perpetual Transmutation, that's just a fancy way of saying that everything is either coming into physical form or going out of it. For example, water can go from invisible humidity or vapor in the air to visible clouds, to tangible rain, to something even as solid as ice. At any point during the water's transformation, the process can reverse. The cloud does not necessarily turn to rain. Sometimes it disappears again into the clear blue sky. Rainfall doesn't always turn to ice. Sometimes it simply evaporates again and disappears into the air. It says figure 5. There's going to be some figures on different pages that you'll be able to see as we go through. So now think about the idea of prosperity. Prosperity for you, or perhaps for you, prosperity would mean more family time. A family picture as you are posed in front of the Egyptian pyramids could represent your idea of prosperity. You see yourself and your family members with you, huddled together, smiling with the pyramids in the background. Now put yourself in the picture and see the photographer taking it. You feel the sun beating down on you and the dust blowing in the mild whistling breeze. There is laughter from your child or grandchild. You hear the photographer tell your group to hold still and say, "Mummy." and you can picture the group disassembling and walking back to the tour bus or camel. Are you thirsty? What would you like? The situation may be compared to the changing forms of water. The situation has not manifested itself in the physical world yet. Just a vapor is not, just as vapor is not yet rain. But for a moment, the circumstances required to make that situation a reality were actually beginning to gather as cloud gathers in the sky. If you were to hold on to that idea and pursue the goal with firm determination and not throw it out with disbelief or apathy, then eventually it would happen in real life. Belief keeps the idea cloud gathering until it is so heavy that the rain must begin to fall. The circumstances you need begin to present themselves, just like water that can change from an invisible to visible state. So can the Egyptian vacation idea transmute itself into reality. However, disbelief and apathy will, by law, cause the cloud of your idea to dissipate back into the clear blue sky. So here we go. This is an illustration, or in this illustration, we see that water takes many forms on its way from being invisible to solid. The process can reverse at any point. So it starts out as vapor, eventually it becomes a cloud, eventually it rains, and if situation is right and the temperature is right, it will turn to ice. But it can go from ice back to water, it can evaporate back into the air, and eventually become vapor. It can go back and forth. Think of though what it is that you want to manifest. You're not going to see the manifestation in your life. You're going to start out vapor with the idea of what you want, and you're going to hold on to that as your vision as if it already is, until it becomes so full and so real for you in your imagination first that it actually becomes reality in real life. All right, let's go. Our idea takes many forms on its way to being non-existent to being part of our reality in our physical world. Again, the process can reverse at any point along the way. So non-existent, then you have an idea, you build upon that idea. And with that idea, you create it first spiritually in your imagination. And then eventually it will manifest in its physical form if you keep building on that spiritual idea that's in your imagination. You'll be guided and directed by God and the universe through inspiration, revelation, intuition to receive what it is you want, and you'll be guided to receive it correctly. And everything and everyone else necessary for that to happen will do their things in the background too, because they also have their ideas. They are also creating. And in the process of doing things for you, they're helping themselves, and vice versa. There's things that you're doing sometimes on a daily basis that are helping other people have what they want manifest in their lives. Okay. From our perspective, figures 5 and 6 are an illustration of the process through which the things and circumstances we desire come to us. The photograph in front of the pyramid may not be in your scrapbook right now, but at the very least, it has moved from being non-existent to being an idea. That's a start. The law of transmutation states that everything, every object, every circumstance, etc., is constantly developing into form and dissipating out of form. When you decide to discard an idea, it ceases to develop and begins to dissipate. Brigham Young, the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, back in the middle 1800s, spoke about what he believed it would be like when we join the spirit world. In doing so, he revealed a powerful truth that puts these ideas in perspective. He said, if we want to visit Jerusalem or this, that, or the other place, and I presume we would be permitted if we desire, there we are. looking at its streets. If we want to behold Jerusalem as it was in the days of the Savior, or if we want to see the Garden of Eden as it was when created, there we are, and we see it as it existed spiritually. For it was created first spiritually and then temporally, and spiritually it still remains. Another way to look at this law is to consider any living or anything living. All living things are either growing or disintegrating. A body starts out invisible, but if you ask any pregnant woman, she'll say there's one coming. Ask any old man if his body is coming or going, and he will tell you that his eyesight is going and that his ability to remember may already be gone. In short, he is disintegrating. We all are, once we've reached our prime, when we are on our way back to an invisible state. What about an acorn in your hand? Is it growing or disintegrating? It is disintegrating because it isn't in the right environment for growth. But an acorn in the ground is growing. With the right conditions, one day it will become an oak tree. Ideas are things too. An idea in its beginning state is invisible in the physical world. The right environment for an idea is our mind. Held there long enough, it begins to move from the invisible to the visible world. Rooted out of our mind by doubt or apathy, the idea is drawn back into its etheric state to remain invisible forever. How many times do you have an idea of prosperity, and for a moment you can picture yourself living abundantly, and then the idea goes away because you brush it aside as impractical? So long as you held the thought in your mind, everything you needed was, by law, beginning to be drawn to you. When you let go of the idea, all those things were drawn away from you. You never saw evidence of these changes taking place, so you had no idea that what you desired was being affected by your thoughts. Think about your idea as something that exists in spirit, and see it transmuting, gathering all the elements it needs until it manifests on the physical plane. When setting lofty goals, trust that the way will show up, even though it usually only shows up after you make the commitment to reach the goal. An idea held in the right environment, your mind, will begin to take form. It is only in the last stage of the process that you will see it. Do not reverse the process by doubt or fear. Belief and faith bring it into form. Doubt and fear return it to the invisible. Situations, events, and things are perpetually transmuting. They are constantly coming or going from or toward the physical plane, but we just don't see it happening, so it is naturally easy to doubt. You must believe this law, and you'll be able to have the faith you need to hold the idea in your mind until you see the fruition. In fact, I've noticed there's many times I will have a thought which I may entertain for a while and imagine how it would feel if it should come true. But then life goes on and I forget the situation I had imagined. Without consciously discarding the idea at some point along the way as impossible, many times I found the situation came true all on its own, even though I hadn't spent a whole lot of time trying to make it happen. I suppose that seed was a variety that didn't require a lot of attention, like a palm tree in the desert. The seed had been planted and not uprooted. Therefore, it grew. All on its own, it grew. All I had to do was imagine it, feel the emotion I expected to feel, and then let it grow by leaving it alone, doubting not. To illustrate how much can happen without conscious effort, an author by the name of Dr. Raymond N. Hollywell, in a book called Working with the Law, put it this way: in some instances, results that seem almost magical will appear. Often where there has been a deep, longing desire for a particular good with no expectation of its realization, the addition of action will finish the process with the happiest results. Yes, action is part of the formula for sure. But while it is by action you receive it, the unseen help you need is only drawn to you by faith. Action without faith can be like running on a treadmill while expecting to eventually arrive somewhere important. Although it can be tough to comprehend it, since we all can really see, or since all we can really see is our physical world, it is important at this point that you accept the more abstract ideas as fact. Just as we cannot see the vibrating molecules in a rock, we have learned to accept the fact that there are molecules and that they do vibrate. Trust me on this one. And from here, we'll be able to build some very powerful ideas to explain the mystery behind prosperity. Good thoughts and actions can never produce bad results. Bad thoughts and actions can never produce good results. Men imagine that Men imagine that thought can be kept secret, but it cannot. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstance. In the beginning, all things were first an idea in God's mind. There is an original formless substance or matter, energy, from which all things are created, and it exists throughout the universe. As Wallace D. Waddell states in his 100-year-old classic, The Science of Getting Rich. Hey, Everett, do you mind going on mute? Thank you. There is an original formless substance or matter from which all things are created, and it exists throughout the universe, as Wallace D. Waddell stated in his 100-year-old classic, The Science of Getting Rich. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. The moment a thought is held in the mind, the formless substance obediently organizes itself to reflect that thought. In due course, the original substance goes from formless to having a spirit form, which reflects the characteristics of the image held in the mind. I believe all things that are physical were first created spiritually this way. Held in the mind long enough with the unwavering belief that it will manifest itself in the physical form by law, it is created spiritually and eventually comes to us physically. By law, it must. As we use our thoughts constructively, we are acting as co-creators with God, helping to bring order and form to the formless substance. Belief is an emotion which speeds the creative process, while doubt returns an idea to a formless state. So, if you desire something or a circumstance that is good and in harmony with God's desire for you, hold the idea in your mind, believing that it is being created and is on its way. The original substance is obedient to the law of perpetual transmutation and the influences of belief and doubt. God understands this law perfectly and uses it to accomplish his purposes as well. It is my personal belief that he commands the very elements this way. I believe this is how he organized our world in the beginning. However he does it, I'm grateful for the concept because it helps me have faith in his power. It helps me have faith, which is precisely what he requires of me before he grants my requests for his blessings. Many people of different faiths may say that he established the laws. Others say that the laws have always existed and he uses them for his purposes. It doesn't matter which way we believe, these laws can be employed regardless. Read the following passages from this new perspective. Ask in faith, nothing wavering. Delight thyself in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. In all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive. Whatsoever thing ye shall ask in faith, believing that ye shall receive in the name of Christ, ye shall receive it. Whatsoever thing ye ask the Father in my name, which is good, in faith, believing that ye shall receive, behold, it shall be done unto you. Clearly, in order to be prepared to receive his blessings, we must be striving to follow the Lord's example of living a pure life. Must we already be perfect? No. but I believe we must be pointed steadfastly in that direction. What is faith? We learn throughout the scriptures how destructive the emotions of doubt and fear can be. On the other hand, we've been taught how powerful faith can be. Faith is seeing the results in your mind as though they were already realized, feeling the joy now that you expect to feel then, and then proving your faith by action. Remember that when you do this, you're setting in motion unseen forces to prepare the way for your success. Knowledge of the law of perpetual transmutation helps us maintain our faith. We learn that believing is seeing, not the other way around. Let me repeat that. We learn that believing is seeing, not the other way around. What if we humbly and sincerely think about and visualize what we're asking for? What if we allowed ourselves to feel gratitude for what we need, even before it is with us, as though He has already granted the desires of our heart? That, my friends, is faith. Boyd K. Packer, president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, provides a clarifying explanation to help us understand the difference between the faith we exercise on a daily basis and the more rare kind of faith that we're invited to develop. He states there are two kinds of faith. One of them functions ordinarily in the life of every soul. It is the kind of faith born by experience. It gives a certainty that a new day will dawn, that spring will come, that growth will take place. It is the kind of faith that relates us with confidence to that which is scheduled to happen. There's another kind of faith, rare indeed. This is the kind of faith that causes things to happen. It is the kind of faith that is worthy and prepared and unyielding, and it calls forth that otherwise would not be. It is the kind of faith that moves people. It is the kind of faith that sometimes moves things. It comes by gradual growth. It is a marvelous, even a transcendent power. A power as real and as invisible as electricity. Directed and channeled, it has great effect. So, how to pray with faith? Let's reflect on how we generally approach God in prayer. Do we go to Him feeling frustrated and upset that He hasn't met our needs yet and beg Him to please give us what we asked for, all the time while hardly believing He's listening, let alone getting ready to grant our request? Do we find ourselves complaining more than expressing gratitude? Do we feel weary that it has taken Him so long to make the changes we want in our life? What if He was right there, ready with that which we desire, prepared to hand it to us the moment or soon after we approach Him with the right attitude? With a grateful and patient heart, genuinely believing we'll receive it because we've already determined through sincere prayer that it is a desire in line with His will for us. A process we'll discuss more intensively in a moment. Imagine one of your children approaching you with gratitude for the sandwich they hope to receive from you. They're already licking their lips as though it was already in their hands. And they only ask once without a question of whether or not you might refuse them. They have hope and eager anticipation in their eyes. Provided there wasn't a good reason to refuse, you'd give them what they ask. On the other hand, what if the child approaching you whining, "Please, I need a sandwich. I'm so hungry. Why haven't you already given me a sandwich? You knew I was going to be hungry. Where's my sandwich?" Do you blame me for thinking there is no way I should reward a child for such ingratitude? That child, if he were in my family, would go hungry until he changed his approach. Do I have a sandwich to give? Yes. Do I want the child to have it? Of course. Can I give it to him if he asks improperly? Not if I'm a good parent. Now, what if the child, instead of saying, "Please give me a sandwich," said, "Will you give me a sandwich?" and simply wait for a reply? A simple, direct, expectant question like that is easy to answer yes or no. How silly it would be if I said yes for that child to continue begging for a sandwich. This illustration brings up 2 points. One addresses the kind of questions we ask, and the other is about vain repetitions. Yes, no questions. First of all, when you pray for something, consider asking yes or no questions. Ask if it is a worthy desire, and let him speak peace to you if it is. If you experience a stupor of thought, which causes you to forget your question, try posing an alternative request. However, if you do feel the peace you're seeking, you may then decide to ask, is it appropriate for me to ask whether or not thou will grant it? If you again feel peace, then consider asking directly, wilt thou do this for me? Listen or feel for an answer of peace instead of that stupor, which literally causes you to forget what it was you were asking for in the first place. Throughout this process, waiting for an answer is the polite thing to do when asking God a question, or anyone else for that matter. I realize that even after we receive a witness or confirmation, it can be a challenge to guard against doubtful negative thoughts and dismiss them as irrelevant. But that is exactly what we need to do. Let me repeat that. I realize that even after we receive a witness or confirmation that God has said it's okay, he's given you the big thumbs up in the sky, okay? It can be a challenge to guard against doubtful negative thoughts and dismiss them as irrelevant. But that's exactly what we need to do. What if a recognizable answer doesn't come? Sometimes we simply have to determine on our own whether or not the goal is appropriate. Then we must make a decision and go for it. I learned a powerful lesson one day from a church speaker that at times we proceed so tentatively that by the time we realize we're on the wrong path, it's too late to fix it. Instead, if we move forward with resolve, determination, and conviction, and if we are on the wrong path, then at least we're able to discover our error early enough to make the appropriate course correction. We do better to take action based on our own best judgment than to wait until we're told exactly what to do at every turn. Think about it. How can the Lord direct our course if we're not even on one? Sometimes the Lord's will is not apparent until a period of time after we've demonstrated a resolved commitment to a particular path. As they say, you can't steer a parked car. I remember a time when my husband and I had a burning desire to move our family back to our home state. I had recently learned the laws and truly believed that I could have anything I asked for. For years, we prayed to be able to move and felt good every time we prepared or presented the idea to the Lord. And yet there we remained. Thinking that all we lacked was a resolved commitment, we finally decided just to make it happen and figure out the details along the way. So we put our California house up for sale and made an offer on a home in Arizona, which was accepted and put under contract. We said our goodbyes and planned to have my husband commute on the weekends until he found a new job closer to home. Besides, the 1 hour plane ride would have been a faster commute than the 2.5 hours through Los Angeles traffic. Contrary to our expectations, our $156,000 house would not sell. Week after week, we wondered what we were doing wrong. Finally, we took the matter to the Lord again, this time with new questions. We were certain that it was the right thing to do, but perhaps the wrong time. As soon as we asked if we should stay a while longer, working to get our ducks in a row just a little better, and instead make the move in a couple of years, we felt the warm, assuring feeling of peace that told us we were on the right track. Although I thought I could take 2 or 3 more years to be ready, although I thought it could take 2 or 3 more years to be ready, in only 8 more months, we felt the Spirit direct us that the time was right. And our home sold for $140,000 more than we couldn't get for it only 8 months before. The point is that every time we asked about moving to Arizona, we felt peace. But since God didn't send a whirlwind to pick us up and put us there, we had to work out the details. And when we didn't get any concrete answers one way or another, we had to make our own decisions and take action. It wasn't until after committing to our decision that we felt the Lord step in and steer us a different way. We felt like we were in limbo, going no concrete direction until after we chose a path. If we'd stayed put, we wouldn't have needed direction because we were already doing what he wanted us to do in the first place. We just didn't know it yet. Why we pray often. Let's see here. Where are we on time? How much further into this chapter? Okay, we're going to stop here for sake of time so we can have our discussion and questions and answers. So we will pick up on page 35 of the PDF tomorrow. Well, looks like some additional people joined us since we got started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you all with us today. And let me go ahead and explain, because it looks like there may be some new people here. Let me explain how things will function at this point. This is your opportunity to share what you would like to share and ask what questions you would like to ask. So let me explain what would be appropriate. As far as sharing, anything in relationship to what we just went over today. If you learned something, if you had an aha moment, or maybe if you were reminded of something you already knew, or maybe if you've had great experience already following what's been taught, that would be great to share. You can also share anything in relationship to what we've gone over in the past as a group. And what's really cool to hear is anything in relationship to manifesting something that you really wanted in your life, where you set the intention to have something happen and you know that you followed, whether you've been able to repeat it over and over again, doesn't matter, but you successfully were able to follow that particular path to a positive outcome in manifesting what you want. So sharing your stories always helps uplift and help people, especially maybe if you've learned something in the last 3 weeks that we've been together and that's helped you out. Okay, questions, what would be appropriate? Well, anything in relationship to what we just went over today, anything in relationship to what we went over in the past, and or anything in relationship to manifesting more money and wealth in your life. Now, I recommend that you take this time and use it wisely instead of leaving us in silence. I've been trained by Bob Proctor, and I am a coach that coaches on the law of attraction. I'm independent at this point, but I do have experience with this and have helped many people attract more of what they want in their life. I've had my own fruit, bear fruit on the tree in my life, and have helped others to bear fruit in their life. And this is my profession. So I definitely am a resource for you. Take advantage of that. If nothing else, unless you have everything you want in your life right now, feel free to ask those questions about manifesting more money and wealth in your life. So here's your opportunity to share what you would like to share and or ask whatever questions you'd like to ask. The way to do it is you just come off mute and start talking, and then we'll take you in the order that you come off and start speaking. Thank you.
Hi, Kevin. This is Michelle. Can you hear me?
I can, Michelle. Hi.
Hi. Is there like a certain prayer or something that we should say to ourselves when we do kind of let the doubt come into our mind? Because I do believe, but then there's that fear, that doubt that, oh gosh, I don't know if it's really going to happen, or am I asking too much? How do you dissipate that or combat it?
Okay. First of all, do you think it's even possible to ask for more than God can give you?
Oh, that's a good point. I don't know.
Well, what is God not capable of doing?
Oh, that's true. Okay.
So the first thing I would tell you is you can never ask for too much.
Okay.
Okay. The universe, and we went over this before. I'm not sure if you were with us that day, but that's okay. The universe in our mind is kind of like a pizza or a pie, okay, for us, where we feel like if we, that the pie is finite, and let's say let me put you in a situation right now, okay? Let's see what you would do in this situation.
Okay.
So do you like pie or pizza better?
Oh gosh. Oh, cherry pie.
Cherry pie. Okay. So we got a favorite here. We got our cherry pie. Okay. So this pie that you're being offered is not just a cherry pie. Whatever is the very best cherry pie you've ever had in your entire life, this one is even better. Okay.
Okay.
So, and by the way, you're very hungry right now.
Okay.
You were like ravenous hungry.
Okay.
You've got a cherry pie in front of you. It's been cut into 8 slices, 8 even slices. You're at a table and there's 10 of you. And here is your direction. Okay.
Okay.
The pie is being provided to you, and the direction is take as much as you want and then pass it to the next person. There's 10 people at the table. There's 8 slices. You were told, Michelle, to take as much as you want and pass it to the next person. How many slices of pie are you going to take? Or are you going to cut one in half, or what are you going to do?
Yep, I would probably take one and then cut one in half and just take 1.5.
Okay. So now what's left there is 6.5 slices for 9 people.
Oh.
How does that feel to you? You were the first one, and you know that you got 1.5 pieces, and there's 9 people sitting there. There are 8 slices, but 10 people to start with.
I would feel guilty.
Why?
I would feel bad that there wasn't enough for the others.
Okay. What was your instruction?
To take as much as I wanted.
Uh-huh.
And then pass it to the others.
Uh-huh.
But
see, you're right. You heard instructions, right? And then pass it to the others. But look at your dilemma right here, right? You've got this thing that seems finite to you. And if you get more, someone else gets less. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
that's what it appears to be.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. That's not how God operates. The way God operates is says, okay, why don't we just make a bigger pie?
Ah. Okay.
So now your 12-inch pie is now a 32-inch pie.
Mm-hmm.
It has 8 slices on it, but I mean, the slice of pie is like twice the size of your head. And God says, it doesn't matter that it's cut into 8 pieces and there's 10 people there. See, those lines are lines that we put there.
Ah, okay.
We're the ones doing that. Now you got this giant pie for 10 people. Chances are pretty good that everybody can go around the table, even though it's cut in 8 pieces, everybody could go take that pie and probably take as much as they want. And there might even be some left over.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, yes.
The way God in the universe operates, though, is this. You cannot, no matter how much pie you take, there's always going to be more. If that 32-inch pie or whatever I just said it was turned into isn't big enough, then it becomes a 50-inch pie. If the 50-inch pie isn't big enough, it becomes a 112-inch pie.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
All we have to do is follow God's instruction, which is take as much as you want.
Okay.
That's your only instruction.
Okay.
Take as much as you want. You have to actually want it, right? I mean, it'd be silly to just take, a whole bunch more pie than you want.
Right.
It's going to probably end up in the trash.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So take what you want, but don't limit yourself to anything other than how much you want.
Okay. Good analogy. Good analogy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's go back to your other question, though, about, let's see, what was it? It was your thought about about a prayer?
Yes.
I mean, you can come up with your own, but essentially I would say something to the effect of this. And everybody talks to God in the universe differently depending on their belief system, right? So
right.
Whatever works for you. In my case, I might say something to this effect, dear Heavenly Father, dear God, right now, I know that you have the power to bring to me anything I ask for. And I know that you're there to do what's for my highest and best good. Sometimes, though, I don't have the faith to stay with the positive thoughts. So, first of all, I ask you to forgive me. And as importantly, I ask for your help to help me forgive myself. Please get me back on track and help me to recognize your power in my life, because I know that you have the ability to bring me anything that I want. And as long as what I'm asking for is for my highest and best good, I know it's going to be there. I know the desires that I have come from thee. And I also know that if there's something out there that I ask for that isn't quite appropriate or maybe isn't the right timing, that as I move towards that thing, you will either give me something better or guide me to something better. Look what happened to Leslie and her husband, right? They ended
Yeah.
up with 140,000 more for their house because at that point in time, staying 8 more months, God knew that was going to happen. They didn't.
Yeah.
They thought they were using their best judgment. They want, okay, let's make the decision to go now. Okay, fine. And then they, but they felt that they needed to stay. So then they thought, okay, it's 2 to 3 years. But God was like, no, now it's time to go. Let's put your house up for sale. And they got 140 grand for their house that they couldn't sell it for 8 months ago.
True. Okay. Thank you. I like that
Yeah.
prayer.
Cool. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Anybody else? Any comments or questions?
Hi, Kevin. It's Sunshine. How are you?
Hey, Sunshine. Terrific.
That's awesome. I am doing well as well. I had a question because I noticed a similarity where Leslie was talking about like the cloud and vapor and stuff like that. It reminded me of the coaching that we've done where it talks about ether and stuff like that. I wanted
Uh-huh.
to know if there was any correlation to that or if it was just.
Yeah, she just drew an illustration. I mean, ultimately, what it comes, it's the transmutation of energy, right? She
Mm-hmm.
just showed it. She showed it as vape water because that's something we've all experienced, and it's like, yeah, I've seen that happen, right? I mean, you see the water hit you could see the rain in certain areas if it's hot, even hit the sidewalk and literally almost evaporate into steam as it hits. So we've seen ice cubes melt. We've seen rain showers happen. So it just gives us a good visual, because one of the things that helps us, excuse me, in manifesting what we want is we think in pictures. We don't think in words. Here's what I'll give you guys all an example right now. I don't want anybody right now. Okay, listen to me, everybody, closely. Absolutely do not think about or see in your mind a pink elephant. I absolutely forbid you at this point, in this moment, to see a pink elephant. Every single one of you do not see a pink elephant. Okay. Now, I saw one. Mine may have looked different than yours. If I want to describe mine, that would help your description, right? But you all saw pink elephants, even though I told you not to. Because we don't think in words, we think in pictures. Okay. So what Leslie is trying to do and what Bob Proctor does with the stick person, which we'll share that with you guys at some point, is give an example of what it could look like so that your brain can create a picture. That's why she likes using examples like that.
Okay, perfect. So that reminded me, that brought to my memory how Bob said to break it down to I guess the easiest way that you can think about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And most people, when you say you need to change how you think, we need to change our thoughts. We don't even know what our mind looks like. So maybe that's something I will pop in and bring that out in the next little bit here, to go through the stick person with everybody and show you that. But what you could do in the meantime, if you want to see a little bit more about how your mind actually works at a conscious and at a subconscious level, go to YouTube and just type in Bob Proctor stick person. And you'll probably find half a dozen or more at this point, maybe even dozens over the years, but you will find Bob explaining the stick person. That will give you a visual. That's how we see things. That's how we manifest things. But when we hear words, so your subconscious mind, by the way, you tell it not to picture a pink elephant, just like I told you not to picture a pink elephant. All your subconscious mind can do at that point is picture a pink elephant. It it doesn't take the command of don't and not and whatnot. It reflects on pink elephant, and that's what it reflects back. So when we keep telling people what we don't want in our life, it's bringing up a picture in your own mind, and it's bringing up emotion in your own mind. And so that's what's getting impressed upon energy or the formless substance, which we talked about in the Science of Getting Rich, or ether, whatever you want to call it. So whatever it is that we don't want, when we speak of it and think of it, but we are repeating it, we're making that a stronger program in our subconscious mind than the one of what we really want. So if you know what you don't want, you actually do know what you do want. You just take it and you flip it. We'll get into that law eventually here, the law of polarity. But you're going to start understanding these laws, and you're going to start using them to your advantage, so that when doubts and fears and worries and things come up, you're able to recognize what law to put into effect to counteract those thoughts and feelings.
That would be great.
Yeah, we're doing that.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Hey, Kevin, it's Liz.
Hey, Liz.
How are you?
Awesome.
Good. I just wanted to kind of jump off of that aspect, as far as knowing what you want and knowing what you don't want.
Mhm.
Before I got married, I had a law of attraction book actually by Jack Canfield, where it had you write out specifically like what you don't want, and then on the column on the right hand side what you do want. So I wrote out exactly what I didn't want, and I wrote out exactly what I did want. And the person that I attracted into my life was all of those things combined. So like the law of polarity I didn't for some reason
So what you
cross
maybe
out.
forgot to do, what you forgot to do that Jack probably told you to do, or
Was
maybe
cross
he
out.
didn't, and you should have ripped the page in half and burnt the don't along the side.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I learned that. I was like, oh crap, I didn't delete. I didn't say, okay, I know all the things I don't want, and now let me scratch that out and burn it out of my memory so that I don't attract that, because I attracted all the qualities I wanted, but then all the things I didn't want at the same time.
Yep.
So
Yep. That's why we don't repeat it. It's an exercise. Bob Proctor will never take a person and purposely have them repeat the exercise multiple times.
right.
It's meant to, okay, since we've been programmed by society to tell everybody what we don't want, and I can't decide I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want. It's like in my wife and kid, this happens. It's just life, right? Where you're out driving and saying, okay, where should we go eat? And some people in the family will say, I want, bam, that I want. Others will start giving you the list of what they don't want.
Right.
That's fun.
Well, I don't want Italian. We had that the other day, and we had Mexican food last week. So I don't want Mexican food. Well, what do you want? I don't know. So you go, okay, let's go get Chinese. Well, I don't. Okay. All right. What do you want? Either you're going to decide what you want, or I'm just going to pick something I want.
Right.
And you're going to eat it. Right. And then now they have more urgency. So they're like, okay, what I want is whatever. And it's like, okay, fine. And then we go do it. But that's how most of us, unfortunately, have been programmed. And so that's how we speak. So, but the other thing is throughout life, you can make that list and then cut the side off, burn it, and keep the good side. But the other part of it too is you just, some of those thoughts will still come to your mind. Don't entertain those thoughts.
Mhm.
Think of it as, okay, something came to my mind that I don't want immediately. I don't want, okay, what I do want is, and then say that. So at least whatever came, you counteracted the negative with the positive. Maybe you won't have anything at that moment as a result, but you're not going to drag the negative into you if you can go switch it. And if you could stay switched and stay focused on what you want stronger than the other side, then that's what you'll end up with. So it's a good exercise to, anytime you're not feeling good, it's a thought causing that feeling. What is that thought? And it's always what you don't want. Whatever you don't want, because your spirit knows what you want. It's only when you don't want something that you feel crappy. It's only when you have a thought that you don't want to be true that would make you feel bad.
Yeah. And then the other thing I just wanted to, that just what you had just said kind of brought that out. And then the other thing I wanted to say was in regards to the sandwich analogy.
Uh-huh.
I think is so important, because I think it's really easy to get into that like desperation of like, please, please just give me this.
Yes, good point. I love that
Yeah.
analogy too. Yeah.
If it's not in your timing, you know, like if it's not convenient for the parent, I will make you a sandwich as soon as I'm done with this. I will make
Yeah.
you a sandwich, you know, in my time, not in your schedule.
Yeah.
So yes, you can have a sandwich, but I'm in the middle of tying my shoes right now or whatever.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that's super important to just, you know, when you're in that state, to just, you know, ask and then let it go and know that it's coming to you in divine timing, not in your timing.
You know,
Yeah, and to ask.
you guys all just gave me a really good thought. That this totally came to me, that this is probably a very good lesson for us when it comes to like something like that. Why don't we, this reminds me again of family stuff, of course, you know, the person that holds it to go to the bathroom until their bladder will explode, but they don't tell you until that moment, right? Versus you drove, I mean, we literally had a drive recently within the last month where my daughter was in the car, and we had a place where we could have stopped. We even kind of brought it up, but she wasn't paying enough attention. And now we're 20 miles past that place. And the two options are go forward for 80 miles or go backwards 20. Right. We went forward the 80. And it was very unpleasant and everything else. But here's my point about that. We also don't appreciate God in the universe very much till we're in trouble. We wait till we're so freaking hungry that having gratitude while we're asking for something doesn't come naturally, because all we can think about is how hungry we are. Or we've waited so long to go to the bathroom that we're going to explode. And so we ask God to pull over. and so the point is, you should ask when things are going well, number one. And number two, you should show gratitude and appreciation all along the way. But the closer you get to where you're worrying about stuff, the more actually cranky you get and the more you whine and complain. Eventually, when you realize you're not going to get your way, you finally realize, I am going to starve to death if I don't change my attitude, because nobody's going to feed me. You finally get so hungry that you're like, okay, forget it. You know what? Hey, God, I apologize. Can I please have a crouton? Can I have a crouton, please? And God's like, yeah, I would have given you a freaking buffet if you would have just asked me a long time ago, and you would have asked me.
Yeah, nicely. Yeah.
Yeah. God, there's no limit on what you can ask for. And if you want to protect yourself because you're worried, I like what Leslie said, you start moving down the path and God will redirect you. But the other way that you can protect yourself is to decide what you want and add in your mind when you're truly asking for it. Add in the phrase, this or something better. This or something better.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
because then you will always, if you asked for something that wasn't going to be for your highest and best good, you've now given God the option. I mean, God always has the option, but you've literally turned your will over and said, hey, look, this or something better. I know if I asked for this and it's not meant to be for me, that doesn't mean good stuff's not meant to be for me. That means I actually didn't ask for something big enough. I didn't ask for something great enough. And besides, you know better than I do. And so, I asked for this, it'll be this or something better. And if it takes an extra 5 days, a week, 10, whatever it is to get to something better, we'll look back at what we originally asked for and we'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I didn't get that. Because check out what God actually gave me.
So if we worry or have doubt, does that throw an obstacle into us getting what we want? I mean, does that
Not if we hold on to it. Yeah. Not if it's a thought for a moment. I mean, there'll be a little impact, but it's not going to totally derail you. But if that's your main attitude is fear and worry and doubt, then yeah, of course it's going to keep you, because again, don't see a pink elephant. Monica, I do not want you to visualize. I do not want you to see a pink elephant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what you actually don't want, Monica, is a pink elephant. Now, I'm not telling you, you don't want the pink elephant, but your entire energy is focused on what you don't want to have happen. And formless substance and our subconscious mind don't respond to that. They just respond to the thought and feeling. Now, God and the universe God is not an idiot. He knows you don't want a pink elephant. Okay. The universe, see, I don't think they're exactly the same thing. That's my opinion. Because the formless stuff, the energy out there has been used to create good things and bad things. I don't think God creates bad things. I think what happens is we are here on planet Earth right now to go through our next stage of progression through our eternities. And so we're learning things. And what God wants us to learn is how to obey these laws so that you get what you want. And then even after this life, I believe you're going to live and I'm going to live, and we're still going to keep progressing. I think the difference between us and God, and I'm not trying to sound sacrilegious or anything, I think God is someone very much like us. He just maybe has been around for thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, if not billions of years longer than we have. So in his form and understanding, as an intelligence that we are, we've been around just like God. We've been around forever. We're going through a process of learning how to do things that God does. That's why this world functions in the way it does, but it's based upon our thoughts and feelings. Good thoughts, good feelings, good results. Bad thoughts, bad feelings, bad results. And God is sitting there not saying, well, you don't want a pink elephant, but you keep focusing on a pink elephant. God is letting the laws just function the way they do. If God doesn't want a pink elephant, God does not think and focus on a pink elephant. The thing is, he doesn't doubt or fear that what he focuses on is going to happen. And that's why for him, it happens instantaneously. Eventually, after this life, we're still going to grow and learn, and we're still going to grow and learn, and we're still going to grow and learn. But at some point in time, we will have spent as much time in our existence going through the process that God has up until this point. And at that point, we'll have the similar kind of experience that he has, and we'll be able to do the things he does. But the reason we're here right now, that's why we take things very seriously on our day-to-day and our moment-by-moment life, where God, it's not that he doesn't care, but he knows that this is just a blink. This is just in this grand scheme of eternity. He knows that anything we suffer through at this point is not the end of our life, and that we're still going to continue to progress. But we can choose. Now you're given an option. You're sitting here in this class with us, being made aware of things you were never aware of. Or maybe you kind of knew it, some of it intuitively, because most of us do. When we hear some truth, there's this intuition inside of us that goes, yeah, that's right. It's the society we've been living in that feels all screwed up. It's what I'm used to, but that deal's screwed up. What you're talking about, how this works, that actually makes sense, because when I feel good and put out thoughts that have been good, I've gotten back good things and good results. And when I've put out the negative chronically, okay, not like if you put out a bad thought for a moment, but if it's the dominating thought and feeling you have, then that's what's going to manifest also. But if you look at God as someone, he's the one who's going to give you inspiration, revelation, intuition. He's the one who's going to help you. Again, see God however you choose to see God, right? You don't have to see God exactly the way I do for this to work. You just have to obey the laws, okay? You don't even have to believe in God to obey the laws. But it's helpful to know that there is somebody out there that can give you answers to your questions and is also guiding and directing you, as long as you stay open to receiving that inspiration, revelation, and intuition. But the stuff, the formless substance, the energy, it just responds. It takes our thought, our vibration that's going into it, and it reflects back to us the essence of what we're putting out there. And then our subconscious mind, it doesn't know the difference between good, bad, right, or wrong. It is essentially a machine that keeps us alive. It keeps us what it thinks is safe and protected. I'm not going to give that whole subconscious mind speech again today. Okay. And then it helps us put things on autopilot. It's your subconscious mind that's getting in the way most of the time. It's programming. It's also a lack of awareness about how the universe functions. But once we become more aware, which is why we're going through the laws right now, you'll be able to consciously choose those laws to your favor and use them in such a way so that when the negative comes, you're able to offset that and go and remain on the positive track. So the question is, can negative hurt you, Monica? Yes, it can. But don't freak out about if you're predominantly headed towards what you want and you have moments of breakdown. That moment of breakdown doesn't erase everything good, okay, that you've done. But what it is it's going to lead to more thoughts like that. So you want to pivot and get yourself back on the right track, before if you're almost about to manifest it, like we saw in those images of water, if it's almost about to become rain, we don't want it to go back into vapor, right? We want it to at least stay close to rain or stay a rain cloud. But if we go negative on it constantly, then it will go back into vapor.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome. Any last questions or comments for today? By the way, let's see if there's anybody, because there might be. Let me check, I think no, everybody who's on here has been here before. We had some people that hopped off, but probably because of how long we've been on here. Okie dokie. Well, everybody have a wonderful, amazing, awesome day. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hi, thank you.
You're all welcome.
Yeah.